If you're one of the, millions of people who decided the daily commute to the gym was entirely optional, you know the struggle.
Oh, yeah.
You want reliable fitness equipment in your living room, but you're trying to find gear that doesn't cost, the price of a used car.
But that also won't wobble itself apart after 3 months. It's a tough balance.
Exactly. You need quick, reliable knowledge to make that purchase, and that is exactly why we are here today.
Precisely. The home fitness market is just flooded with gear that promises high quality at these moderate prices.
Hmm.
Today, we are focusing this deep dive on the YOSUDA stationary bike.
Right.
It's pitched as being right in that sweet spot, a sturdy foundational home cycling solution. We synthesized the official specs, poured over dozens of user reviews, and maybe most importantly, we've isolated the major caveats.
So our mission is pretty simple. We are unpacking the bike's physical characteristics, its actual connectivity
A
features,
little messy.
and we're determining if the YOSUDA really delivers on its promise, or if it has some hidden costs and, well, structural weaknesses. Our sources give us everything from detailed weight capacities to dangerously conflicting messages about the mechanics. So let's jump in with the foundation.
I mean, a wobbly bike is a bike you just won't use.
Absolutely.
And the YOSUDA sources, they highlight some really strong foundational specs that are meant to reassure you right away.
I noticed that immediately. The high load capacity is a major selling point. This bike officially supports up to 300 pounds. That's about 136 kilograms.
It's not a number to scoff at.
No, it makes it accessible to a much wider range of users compared to some of those, featherweight budget competitors.
And that stability, it isn't just about the maximum weight it can support, right? It's about the materials.
The build itself.
We see a heavy-duty steel frame, and the entire unit weighs in, reportedly, around 64 pounds.
And that matters. That structural weight, combined with the frame design, is what prevents that side-to-side sway when you stand up and start cycling hard. It needs to feel planted.
That structural integrity is half the battle.
So what's the other half?
How does it sound and feel when you're actually riding it inside your home, maybe while your partner's trying to work?
That's where the drive system comes in, I assume?
Exactly. The YOSUDA uses a belt-driven system, which is a massive upgrade over the traditional chain drives you find in older or cheaper machines.
So that belt gives you a smoother, more controlled, and quieter ride.
Significantly quieter.
This is one of the clearest points of positive consensus in our sources. The quietness is genuinely impressive.
It really is.
I love this specific anecdote we pulled. A user mentioned, and I'm quoting here, they can binge a Netflix series or hop on a Zoom call. No one would guess they just burned 400 calories.
That tells you everything you need to know, right? It integrates into a modern home without being a noise polluter.
What else contributes to that smoothness?
Well, this smooth, silent action is also aided by the heavy flywheel. The bike uses either a 30-pound or 35-pound flywheel, depending on the variant.
And that inertia is critical.
It is. It helps maintain momentum, smoothing out the pedaling stroke, and reducing that kind of choppy feeling you can get from lighter flywheels.
And since this is basically a piece of furniture, as much as it's a fitness tool, comfort has to be key for long-term use.
Of course. And we see a high degree of adjustability here, which is vital if, say, you and a roommate or a spouse are going to be sharing it.
What are we talking about specifically?
It's got two-way adjustable handlebars and a four-way adjustable padded seat.
They seem to have paid attention to common cycling complaints.
I think so. Not only is the saddle adjustable, but they added a spring-loaded seat post specifically for shock absorption.
So it's an attempt to mitigate that inevitable discomfort from long indoor sessions.
Especially for beginners, yeah?
Plus, we get the basics for security, adjustable cage pedals, and that crucial safety feature. If you press the resistance lever down hard, it instantly stops the flywheel. Right. So, good build, quiet ride, accommodating ergonomics. Section 1 paints a very rosy picture of the physical hardware.
It does, and that's what makes this next section so critical. The physical hardware is sturdy, but when we turn our attention to the internal mechanics,
The resistance
system, and the so-called smart features, that's where the situation becomes, well, confusing and potentially misleading.
Let's call this the resistance riddle, because this is the main area of conflicting information, and you, the listener, need to pay extremely close attention here.
This is key.
We see two entirely different technologies being advertised for what is often marketed as the same bike. Some listings explicitly mention magnetic resistance,
while others specify brake pad friction resistance.
and this is the core issue. It determines your future maintenance costs. If you are buying this bike, you have to confirm the exact variant you are ordering.
The implication is immense.
Okay, so help us unpack that. If I'm just trying to get a workout, why should I care if it's friction or magnetic? Isn't resistance just resistance?
It's truly night and day. It fundamentally impacts durability. Friction resistance means literal contact. A felt or leather brake pad pressing directly against the metal flywheel.
So it creates heat, causes wear, and those pads will need to be replaced over time.
Yes, exactly. You are signing up for maintenance.
So any savings you get on the purchase price might just be offset by having to source and pay for replacement pads later on.
Precisely. Now, contrast that with magnetic resistance. That involves magnets moving closer or further away from the flywheel. It's non-contact.
Which means almost zero maintenance.
And it's consistently silent,
Yeah.
and the resistance is often smoother. So if you get the friction model, you're accepting a trade-off. And the fact that the listings are so murky just makes the whole buying process a minefield.
And to complicate things even more, the type of resistance seems to dictate what the bike can or cannot do with its connectivity.
Right.
So while the YOSUDA does have Bluetooth and an LCD display that tracks the basics time, distance, speed, it is not a true smart bike.
That is the critical distinction. It functions beautifully as a manual machine, but it lacks the automation you'd expect from modern connected fitness.
Meaning you can't get that interactive experience where the resistance automatically changes based on the, digital hill you're climbing in an app.
Absolutely not. User feedback is explicit on this. The resistance is manual, not automatic. It lacks automatic resistance or, crucially for serious cyclists, power-based ERG mode.
Okay, if you're not a seasoned indoor rider, what exactly is ERG mode and why is its absence such a major limitation for serious training?
Well, ERG mode, short for ergometer mode, is what turns a simple bike into a true smart training tool. In ERG mode, you set a target wattage, let's say 180 watts, and the bike's resistance unit automatically adjusts to make sure you're producing exactly 180 watts.
Regardless of how fast you're pedaling.
Exactly. If you slow down your cadence, the resistance tightens to keep that power output constant.
So, on the YOSUDA, if I'm following a virtual training program on an app and the screen shows a brutal climb, I still have to reach down and manually crank that resistance knob myself.
Correct. You're manually interpreting the virtual cues and adjusting it yourself, which makes structured training based on precise power numbers highly inconsistent, maybe even impossible.
So the YOSUDA functions more like a stationary platform for your tablet.
That's a great way to put it. It's not an integrated piece of smart machinery.
And speaking of power, if you're a metrics junkie, our sources raised a monumental red flag about the accuracy of the bike's measurements.
This is probably the most brutal insight for any data-driven rider. A critical user report noted that the monitor doesn't have a real power meter. It's only calculating power based on speed.
That sounds like a fundamental compromise. Can we break down the difference there?
Sure, think of it this way. A real power meter measures the actual force, the torque, applied to the crank. It's a lab-grade reading of your energy output. Calculating power based on speed and an assumed resistance setting is basically just guesswork. It's like having a speedometer and trying to deduce the exact weight of a car. The number on the screen might motivate you.
But it's not real data.
For riders trying to train accurately using watts, that number is, at best, a calculated approximation. It renders the power metric pretty much useless for serious training.
So we have manual resistance, inconsistent resistance types across different models, and approximated power tracking. But let's clarify what does work, just to be fair. What can you actually do with the Bluetooth?
You can connect your device to the YOSUDA exclusive app, EVID Fitness, which has workout courses and things like that.
Right.
And critically, the bike includes a dedicated, sturdy tablet holder. So while the bike won't control your workout, it acts as a stable, quiet, highly adjustable viewing platform for whatever app or video you want to stream.
That sets the stage perfectly for our final and maybe most concerning analysis. If the bike works well as a basic, quiet manual machine, how does it hold up in the long run?
And how reliable is the manufacturer when things go wrong?
We're shifting focus now to durability, support, and the actual long-term value.
And we saw two wildly divergent stories here in the user feedback.
On the positive side.
On the positive side, there are good longevity reports. One user said they use it at least 3 times a week, have had no issues, and that the bike exceeded their expectations for the price.
So for many people, the quality is acceptable. It holds up.
It suggests that, yes.
But then we hit the conflicting durability reports, and they are Alarming. This isn't about minor plastic parts breaking.
No, we're talking about core components failing spectacularly under load, specifically crank arms or pedals breaking.
I saw that specific quote from a user claiming I sheared off 2 pedals, getting replacement parts was sketchy. That is alarming.
It's a structural failure on a critical component. If you're standing up on those pedals, pushing high resistance, that weakness is not just an inconvenience, it's a potential safety issue.
And these weren't isolated incidents. We saw multiple highly negative reports about component quality, specifically that crank arm.
Yeah.
We have one quote stating, "These parts are crap. We've had 4 fail, rendering half of our bikes useless."
Wow.
You have to pause on that. A bike that fails under hard use fundamentally fails its primary purpose, regardless of how quiet it is.
It suggests a recurring vulnerability in the materials used for those core moving parts. And this brings us right back to the critical question of customer support.
Given how often these failures are reported, what is the official safety net the company provides?
Officially, YOSUDA offers 1 year of free part replacement. That's the stated warranty. It's the promise meant to reassure you.
But this is where user reality clashes violently with policy.
Violently is the right word. We saw several reports, not just one, but several of poor or no response from customer service when trying to use this warranty.
I saw one user explicitly noted they waited 5 days and just cannot get a hold of YOSUDA.
5 days and nothing.
So you, the user, might buy a friction-based bike that's prone to wear or a bike with a vulnerable crank arm. The company provides a warranty, but if that component fails, the customer support you need to actually honor the warranty seems to be highly unreliable.
Exactly. A warranty is only as good as the customer service that enforces it. If a high failure part breaks at 6 months and you can't reach anyone to send the free replacement, that bike becomes a very expensive clothes hanger.
So synthesizing everything we've looked at, the solid stability, the quiet ride, the confusion over resistance, the lack of smart features, and this mixed bag of catastrophic durability concerns paired with poor support, who is this bike actually for?
The ideal user is the manual home user, someone who values a reliable, low-noise frame above all else, and who just plans to use external apps or watch videos while cycling.
So if you just want a stable platform for basic, consistent cardio,
It's a strong candidate.
and conversely, the bike is emphatically not for a few specific groups.
First, any rider who wants power-based resistance control or ERG mode, the smart training experience, this isn't it.
Second,
Those who strongly prefer magnetic resistance to avoid friction wear, especially if you're not willing to double-check which model you're ordering.
and third, and most crucially,
Buyers who anticipate relying on responsive customer service or who need robust, reliable, long-term part replacements. If structural failure is your main worry, the support risk here is just too high.
the YOSUDA bike really stands as a textbook example of the high-stakes trade-off in the moderate-price home fitness market.
That's the final thought we want to leave you with.